What's up, everybody? This your man Tony Wiggins here with another edition of Locked On Jaguars. On Hump Day, I'm going to talk about Darrell Bevel and the reality as opposed to the perception. I'll get into it in just a second here on the Wednesday edition of Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville.
What's going on, folks? That's right. My little recording seemed like it got shut off real quick, but that's all right. You know what it is. It's your daily Jaguars podcast here on Locked On Jaguars, where it's your team every single day. Let's get right into it. I want to first thank you guys for making us your first listen here. We really appreciate you and being your first listen every day here because we're free on all platforms, and it's all about you. It's all about the Jaguar fans. And I got to let you guys know also that today's episode is brought to you by McDonald's. That's right. Good old McDonald's, man. Proudly serving communities since 1965. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get a tasty, affordable meal. It's an unofficial community center. That's right. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. And just in case you didn't know, I'm loving it. That's right. I want to talk today about a few things. Segment 3. I'm going to work my way back now. Segment 3, I'm going to talk about the good deeds that some of these players do. We had a feel-good story about Dewan Smoot delivering his baby. And, it's more than a good deed. That's something really, really special there. So we want to bring that up because these guys are human. Josh Lambo, upon his release from the Jaguars, gave a heartfelt thank you to the city and says that he, may not play here anymore, but he's still a member of the community. This is his home. And it just puts a human touch when you see things like that on back-to-back days. It puts a human touch on who these guys are. They're more than just guys who score touchdowns and make and miss kicks or that disappoint you. They're more than millionaires who play a game for a living, which is always crazy. They're human beings. And so it's a nice touch, especially coming off of the win when you saw those guys celebrating on Sunday. So we'll hit that. I'm going to tell you statistically where the Jaguars rank offensively and defensively and see if that alters your perception of where the team is and where they aren't. And that's going to come off of us going into what we're about to go through now. We're not going to bury the lead. Darrell Bevel has been whipped and beaten by the fans here. One, I don't think people really liked that hire because it wasn't sexy. Fans still want Joe Brady, even though he's employed by somebody else. But, fans seem to want this exciting approach. They want, the new hot thing, and they didn't really want the same old, I guess you could call it the same old NFL names and the retreads or whatever. So you get Darrell Bevel as offensive coordinator, and you get Brian Schottenheimer as the quarterback's coach. And then when things start off very, very slowly, here it comes. Up jumps the boogie. You get all of the people coming in saying, why did he do this? Why did he do that? And he being Urban Meyer. I was one of them, but I wasn't one because of the reasons that I'm given. The reason why I was one of them is because it seemed like they weren't on the same page. And my thing is you would only seemingly you would only make a hire when you're on the same page or when there's a chance that you already actually knew what you were getting into. So why would those adjustments seem like they were more of a problem than they were? I would expect things to maybe not start off as fast, but I wouldn't expect it to appear to be really nasty. And at some point, it felt like that's the way it was. It felt like it was something that, okay, one of these guys ain't going to last all year, or even if they do, one of them ain't going to be back. So it started off like that. And I'm not here to suggest that I was right about that or the rumors are correct. And I'm not here to suggest that even if those rumors are correct, that it's not still, off a little bit. What I am telling you is it appears that things have gotten better with the offense. And now folks can really pinpoint and just show you what's going on. I think at the beginning, everyone sort of thought the players were really, really great, right? So when things weren't going correctly, they assumed, and this goes with my old saying, and it's not to knock the fans, but I think if you just pay attention, it's not really it's not finger pointing. It's just acknowledgement, and it's acknowledgement that the fans, through their optimism and through their hope, always want whatever ownership and management decides to do to work. The reason is because, and I understand, it's not just because you just love them. So it could be because you're just a pro ownership type person. But for me, what it is, well, whatever ownership wants, they're going to get. So you want whatever they want and whatever they decide to work. Because if it doesn't work, people are inclined not to admit that it's them that's wrong. They're not going to fire themselves. So they're just going to keep changing the people underneath them. So you want whatever they decide, or whatever the management, or whatever who is in charge. You want the person who's ultimately responsible for everything to be correct. Because if it's not, then it's not an easy fix, because that means you have to start all over with who's on top. So it's easy to think that when things were going right or wrong early, that it was Bevel. It wasn't Urban. Can't be. At least I hope it's not him, right? Uh, it's not the players, because we thought the players were good. And I always say, folks think guys are good when they know their name, right? Can't be them either, right? See, those two things, that if it's them, it's not an easy fix. Fans want solutions, and they want solutions that are obtainable, and they're only obtainable if it's something that can be fixed very quickly. Therefore, it's easy to blame the easiest thing to replace than it is to blame the most difficult thing to replace. You got me? You follow me? You follow me. So I know you do. So here's what happens. At some point, we have to start thinking that maybe it's not the easy thing to replace. Maybe it was the hard thing to replace. And maybe the hard thing is twofold. One, Urban Meyer, and two, the fact that you don't have enough separation and speed at the wide receiver position. Now, you could say DJ Chark, and Travis Etienne both being out has a lot to do with it. Maybe. But then that leads you to a harder question, like, what if that's not just the problem? So we have to actually add to it, which means this is why you need to add to it, whether they're the problem or not. You need to add to them to make sure that this never happens again. The fast is just something that you need to be. It doesn't. You don't have to just have one or two fast dudes. You need a team full of dudes that can separate. Everybody has to be able to do it. Now, some are going to be better than others because that's why they get paid differently. But once we put a flashlight on this thing, you start to realize that Darrell Bevel probably isn't as bad as many of us thought. In fact, he's probably better. What probably happened was this. Urban had to get out of his way a little bit. So earlier, a few weeks back, I did a podcast and said we need less assistance and more Urban. I still believe that. But the way that we need Urban is the way that Urban always was. And what that is a great delegator and a leader and a coach of his coaches, not a play caller. That's not what I meant. I meant coaching your coaches and delegator and being clear in your communication what you want. I want to do this and I want to do that. This is what I want to do. Not going into the meeting rooms and micromanaging how they're coaching guys, not telling through the media, talking us to the media, telling us that, well, this ain't going this way, or we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do that. I'm talking about going and getting with your coaches and figuring out a way, in a positive way, how to get it, as opposed to, now here's the finger point, as opposed to having plausible deniability and pointing the finger at other people. So more of Urban means, when he had Dan Mullen at Florida, Dan Mullen was the play caller. When he was up at Ohio State, it was Tom Herman or Ryan Day, right? More of Urban means more of the captain navigating the ship, as opposed to the guy going in and micromanaging every little thing. Now, I'm going to tell you how Darrell Bevel has probably done things that were better than most of us, and I'll say us, and won't say we, how it's better than we imagine. I want you to brace yourselves now, because I tell you, numbers don't lie, but they don't tell the whole truth, but they do tell part of the story. So that's what we're going to do here in segment 2. We're going to jump on that, and we'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Man, I'm telling you, my Jaguar fans, Tony Wiggins with an incredible app everyone who buys gas needs to know about. It's called Get Upside. I've had listeners over the past few weeks that are saving, and actually, I call it making money, because you're actually getting money back. They're saving 25 cents for every gallon of gas every time they fill up. Just download the free Get Upside app in the App Store or on Google Play right now and use the promo code. Now listen, the promo code is touchdown for the NFL. you need to use the promo code touchdown on the Get Upside app, and you'll get 25 cents per gallon on your first fill up. So that's up to 50 cents cash back. That's 25%. 25 cents all the other times, but you'll get an extra 25 cents on your first fill up. Now, don't pay full price at the pump anymore. Get cash back using Get Upside. Now, here's what you have to do. You go and download the free app and use the promo code touchdown, right? And you'll immediately start getting money back to your account. Now you can take the money, have it go straight to your bank account. You can go use it on PayPal, or there's a litany of other places, a gift card, or even for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free app, use touchdown, and you'll start getting 25 cents per gallon off on your gas. You can't pass that up, man. It's Get Upside. That's the app. The promo code is touchdown. And we're going to move on forward here on a Wednesday on a hump day. By the way, we thank you again for making us your first listen. I also hope that you guys tune in to my Locked On NFL show. That was out today with James Rapine and I, where we talk about coaches making boneheaded decisions early in the year, and we do our power poll. So check that out too. That's why you're getting the Drive Time show today, because I was able to record that and we put that out this morning. So we're talking about Darrell Bevel. We're talking about Jacksonville. Of course, you guys know it's a bye week, and where sometimes we can be wrong in our assessment of something, and then when we start to see something different happen, we swear up and down that they changed or something, that they started doing something different, and maybe it's not the case. And I'm just trying to maybe get you guys to probably imagine that maybe it's not the case, that Darrell Bevel's been doing what Darrell Bevel's doing now, what Darrell Bevel's been doing the whole time. It's just that what's happened is Urban Meyer has a better understanding of it, and now he's allowing him to do his job. Remember, I gave this analogy a few weeks back about ice cream and fried chicken. Like, I like them both, but I don't like them on the same plate. And sometimes that's what can happen with play calling and preparation. I noticed what is going on over the past few weeks. The Jaguars are leaning on guys who are their absolute best players. Now, they put other guys in some position to be the best player or be a contributor, and they haven't passed, like Laviska Shenault. It appeared that they didn't get him the ball enough, and he made a play 2 games ago. And then it seems like last week, when they continued to call his number, he didn't show up, but he showed up enough. He had 1 catch, and then he got another catch at the end of the game that ended up maybe being the biggest play of the game on what is called the slider play. And I messed that up early in the week. Don't worry about me messing up words or messing up somebody's name, because that's going to happen from time to time. But the thing is if I told you where the Jaguars ranked offensively, you probably start laughing, right? So in every power ranking I've seen, they're one of the bottom 4 teams, right? So they're one of the bottom 4 teams in the power ranking. So you think that automatically what you could do is just assume that if that's the case, then they're probably one of the bottom 4 teams in some of these statistical categories. They are. It ain't offense, though. And I'm talking about as a team. As a team, the Jacksonville Jaguars defensively are 29th in the NFL. It's about where they're supposed to be if the team in and of itself is about 29th, ranked 28th to 29th in the league in power. They're 29th. Offensively, the Jaguars are ranked 17th overall. Yep, you heard it. I said it. And I know sometimes numbers can confuse you. They're the 17th ranked team offensively from a team offense perspective. You want to know where they are in rushing? 11th. That's right. So if you really want to balance that out, they're in the lower percentile as far as their passing game is concerned, even though Trevor Lawrence has been good. And that's because we're looking at him with cliff notes. We're looking at him with a curve. We're looking at him because he's a rookie. If he was a veteran playing the way he's playing now, or not the way it looks, but if he was a veteran with his numbers, we'd be trying to get him replaced. He's completing probably right around 60, less than 60% of his passes, and he has 8 picks. Gardner Minshew could never do that and get away with it. He wouldn't. The thing is though, our expectation level with Trevor is a little bit different. We seem to think that at some point he's been held back by the play calling and by the assistant coach. I got something to tell you about that before I do that, I'm going to let you know about this. Well, first of all, I don't think that's true. But we have to sometimes get to the point where we realize that things may not be what we think they are. And I'll explain it right now. I think Darrell Bevel what you've seen the last couple of weeks is exactly what he wants to do and what he wants to be. He wants to run the football. He wants to throw it. He wants to use the pass to set up the run and then do a bunch of running and have you guessing about what it is he's going to do. And then he wants to hit some plays downfield also. I think the improvement that you've seen in the offense the last 3 games, especially, but the thing is it's not constant. It comes in spurts. They started off slow the other day, then they got into a rhythm, and then they started off fast the 2 games before that, and then they kind of fizzed out. In the game against Cincinnati, they sort of did get back into a rhythm late in the game because they went down and scored when they had to. But you get the point. The point is it's not consistent and it's not sustained. And it's easy to blame the coach for that. Let me tell you who I blame. I blame the talent level of the team. The overall talent level of the Jacksonville Jaguars is what's holding them back. We have been talking in the past ad nauseum about how Urban Meyer likes to use, especially this year, he kind of used coaches. He used coaches in free agency and relationship, and then he used the assistants and the college guys that he knew to address the guys in the draft, right? In terms of who they were going to sign. Let me tell you why I think if you start pointing the finger at Darrell Bevel and Urban and Darrell Bevel, if I was a fly on the wall and I could whisper, and I was a fly that could speak to Darrell Bevel and nobody else in the room could hear me. And if Urban Meyer is telling Darrell Bevel that he's dissatisfied with how the offense is going and they're not playing right, I would whisper to him, hey, Bevel, ask him who's playing good out of all the free agents. So if Bevel asked Urban Meyer would say Marvin Jones and Jamal Agnew. I say, hey, Bevel, ask him who referred those guys to him, who coached them in Detroit last year. Aha, now you get my point. Darrell Bevel, if he wanted to, if he had that meeting, could be the biggest I told you so whatever in that whole building. Because if you brag about Marvin Jones, who saved the game a couple of times for the Jaguars, and if you brag about Jamal Agnew, well, guess who was the one that, from what I understand, was the one who stood on the table and said, go get him. You got it, Darrell Bevel. Now you can say, hold on, Wig, pump your brakes. Maybe they're just familiar with him and there's no learning curve, and we're still in the first, 1/3 of the season. So it's easy for those guys to perform well. I would say that's true. That's partially true too. But whether it's familiarity or not, they're still doing it. And if they're the brightest spots on the team and they look like 2 pieces you can use going forward, I'd still say, if I'm Darrell Bevel, I'd look and say, well, tell me where I've lied. Show me the lie about what I told you. Right? I do think that they're doing a good job with Trevor Lawrence. I think at this stage of the game for Trevor, those turnovers come with the territory, and it's because he's not playing it safe. So the Minshew talk I was just doing, I was just kind of testing you a little bit. The bottom line is this, man. He's taking chances. What do we call Chad Henne? Check down Chad. We started saying that Minshew was pretty much the same way until it was a broken play. And then he would have, whenever he went deep, he would have to throw anticipatory. He would have to throw the ball so early that he never fooled the guy in the middle of the field, the safety. So, or he underthrew it. Trevor is taking chances. He's doing what Jameis Winston. He's doing what a lot of big. I know y'all don't want me to mention Jameis, but I am. He's doing what a lot of guys like him have a tendency to do, and that's he's trusting his arm and his ability. And he's going to get better. He didn't have a turnover this weekend. So again, other than the sack fumble. But what's going to happen is his IQ is slowly going to catch up with his arm talent. And I'm not saying IQ like he's dumb. I'm saying IQ as it pertains to adjusting to the National Football League. So Darrell Bevel, I'm going to tip my hat to him. I think the improvement that you've seen is because of him. I back that up by saying that the 2 guys that he seemingly recommended to the organization are 2 spark plugs on offense, and this offense would be, as far as the new guys, James Robinson and Trevor are obviously the other 2 guys. But yeah, I think Darrell Bevel is a big part of why the optimism is getting better. And if you look statistically, they're 11th in rushing, they're 17th overall in offense. So that's one spot down from the top 10 in the league, and then overall only 1 spot down from being in the top half of the league offensively. Defensively, they're one of the 4 worst teams in the NFL, and I think that's where we need to start focusing. We need to start focusing on the defense, and I'll start asking these questions about Joe Cullen. That's where I think we need, and we'll probably get into that some point this week because it's a bye week. We'll find out if we think Joe Cullen is getting it done or not, or if those are personnel issues or a combination of both. All right, we're going to talk about some good stuff, some feel-good stuff, because I know everybody's kind of feeling a little bit better this weekend, and they should. They absolutely should feel better this weekend about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to do all of that, man, here in segment 3 and give you something to feel good about on your way home today. And we'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. This Locked On Jaguars episode is brought to you by McDonald's. As I told you earlier, they've been proudly serving the communities since 1965. I'm 52, man. That's 4 years before I was born. It's always been a place for me when I was a kid to play, but now, early in the morning within the cafe and the great coffee, it's a good place to do a little quick business meeting or just to meet up for your family and friends on the weekend. Man, I'm telling you, win or lose, whether the Jaguars win or the Jaguars lose, a 20-piece nugget with that hot mustard sauce tastes good to me any time of the day. So head to your local McDonald's to refuel and reconnect. Did somebody say Locked On Jaguars watch party? Yep. I'd load up on burgers. I'd load up on nuggets. I'd load up on everything else to have a watch party, especially you get a bunch of, I got my kids, man, they're in their 20s. They'll eat up some McDonald's now. All right. So listen, go to McDonald's, your friendly neighborhood McDonald's since 1965. They really been getting it in, man. And I'm telling you, I'm loving it just like that. Y'all ain't never heard me sing before, have you? Well, I'll sing for some chicken nuggets. I'm loving it, man. McDonald's is the cold, hard truth. Go to your local neighborhood McDonald's. I want to holler at you about Built Bar too, man. Y'all been showing me some Built Bar love on social media and hit me up with those salted caramel comments. And I absolutely love you guys for doing that because that means you're paying attention. You're paying attention to the fact that your boy Wig loves him some Built Bars. He loves him some salted caramel. But more importantly, you're paying attention to the fact that Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar ever. And it's that way. It's covered in chocolate. They have 9 great flavors. Now, here's the information all of you guys want. All of you guys is on the treadmill every morning. It's like, how can I enjoy Built Bar that tastes so good and still work out? Easy, because the macros are outstanding. You're going to get a power pack, 17 or 18 grams of protein, 4 or 5 calories of sugars or carbs. Not a whole lot in terms of that. And man, it's just a good, nutritious, great tasting snack to get you between meals or a post workout snack, or just between lunch and dinner when you're at work. Pull that thing out of your briefcase or whatever and go to town with it. And I'm telling you, you will be satisfied. Now, what you do is go to builtbar.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. LOCKED15 gets you 15% off of your next order of Built Bars. Enjoy it, man. Find your flavor. Salted caramel for me, but it might not be for you. They got 9 other ones, and you can go ahead and taste them all. Get you an assorted box and get that thing figured out. So it's Built Bar, builtbar.com. LOCK15 is your promo code. Third and final segment here on a Wednesday. One of the things, as I watched the replays of the game in London when the Jags won the game, I saw the photos and the camera angles of all the guys holding arms together. I saw Trevor Meyer with his arm around the shoulder of Urban Meyer. And I saw everybody follow the ball in the air and then the elation when they ran on the field. Now, sometimes we forget because these guys are young millionaires. And we really, really forget, especially when they don't win very often. We forget that they're human. You know, we think they're just entertainers there for our enjoyment, but that's just not true. You saw the childlike human response from them when they ran on the field the other day and they chased the kicker. And I saw in the locker room where they gave the footage of them giving Trevor Lawrence the game ball. And I was just sitting there thinking like, damn, man, I'm happy for those dudes. You know, as much as we talk about them and, you know, sometimes tell each other that they're not good and they need to be replaced, and they're human beings, man, and they're trying to do the job the best way they can, and they just want to get it done. And there are times when you can actually have a moment and take a moment and realize that these guys are human too. So, they know you some beating up on them this week. We'll give them a little bit of a break from that and the way that we look at the games. And as soon as you do that, there's a couple of things that happened over the last couple of days. One is when Josh Lambo was released. Now, it really showed you the up and down nature of football, because what happens is, to me, Lambo, I used to debate with people over the last couple of years. Folks were telling me that Josh Lambo was as good as Justin Tucker or better. You know what I'm saying? That he was as good or better than, and he was statistically in those 3 years. But I have an appreciation for Justin Tucker because Justin Tucker's still kicking and he's still doing it. So I really have an appreciation for how good he is. And then I have an appreciation for Josh Lambo too, because that kick, that field goal that I was talking about the other day, if you go back and watch, who gave that kid, the right kid, the biggest hug. I call him Right the Knight because we're going to knight him because he was in England. And we can't king him now. We can't crown him king because the king is number 16. But we can knight him. And Matthew Knight. So it was Josh Lambo. And it's not fake. That's authentic. That isn't fake at all. That is authentic. And then Josh Lambo, because this kid had success for the team, Josh Lambo got released. Lambo wrote a big letter to the fans of Jacksonville in this city and letting all y'all know that he's still going to be here. This is his home. He's going to try to keep going with his career, but make no mistake about it, Josh Lambo is a part of this city. And that's the effect. And that's the stuff when I argue and fuss with people about the 50,000 fans, and when I argue and fuss with people about Jacksonville as a city and people making jokes about London and all of this stuff, that's the part of this place that they don't see. That's the part of I've lived on every side of town. I was raised on the west side and the north side. And since I got old enough to make me a little money, I've lived in Orange Park, Clay County. I've lived at the beach, and now I live downtown in Jacksonville and San Marco, right on the river. And everywhere I go, this place is filled with good people that love Jacksonville, and they love this city, and they make you proud to be a part of the community, right? And then you get stories like the one that I heard all day yesterday. Dewan Smoot, who's one of my favorite, people in terms of his personality and how engaging he is. And he's just a guy you have to root for. Dewan Smoot and his wife expecting a baby. And I know you've heard the story by now, but I guess water broke and it was time for her to go to the hospital, and they're walking out of the door and boom, she collapsed on the floor and was like, nope, I got to do it now. I guess he's on the phone with paramedics, and guess what? Dewan Smoot delivered his own child. And listened to the paramedics, delivered his own baby, and shout out to his wife too. I don't know if they had plans on doing it naturally with no anesthesia or whatever. Shout out to Miss Smoot, and you're a soldier, because I've been in the delivery room 3 times with anesthesia, with a saddle block, all of that stuff. And my ex-wife was still sitting there calling me every name in the book. That's why when dudes talk about having babies or whatever, I'll be like, you better stay in your lane, dude. Because Carol Burnett once said that having a baby is like taking your bottom lip and pulling it over your head. I don't even think we built for it. So shout out to her, man, for delivering their beautiful child. Shout out to Dewan Smoot for participating and helping, because that's what he did. She was the leader. But he wears the uniform. So we're going to talk about him and just them together as a family. And we want to send a Locked On Jaguars congratulations to them for that and the happiness that they bring. But all of these things engulf us on a bye week, that sometimes we can get so caught up in it and be of it so much that we don't realize that people are human beings. So it's a feel-good story, a couple of feel-good stories for this bye week. And I'm glad they won the game, because now you guys are probably ready to, because they won the game, you can hear this and really let it sort of marinate and sink in while we're retooling and trying to get ourselves together while they're off, to see if they're going to come back and capitalize on all of this stuff. And hopefully they will. But even if they won't, they're still human beings. And so shout out to them. Shout out to you guys here in the Jacksonville fan base who constantly get ridiculed so much about other people that don't really know what they're talking about. Just charge it to the game. Ain't no big deal. What you guys need to do also is make your second listen the Peacock and Williamson podcast. This is your first listen here at Locked On Jaguars, But your second listen needs to be Peacock and Williamson, because they really break it down like nobody else. Brian Peacock is an NFL analyst. He's outstanding. That's my dude. And then Matt Williamson, man, you got to hear Matt break it down, because when you want to talk scouting and what goes on in scouting departments and how people evaluate players, he's going to give it to you. So the Peacock and Williamson podcast needs your viewership, because you need to pay attention to it, and subscribe and make sure you follow it wherever you get your podcast. Y'all got to take care of each other, man. Like I say all the time, I'll be back tomorrow. No crossover Thursday, because obviously we don't have a game. We'll look at Joe Cullen, maybe. Maybe we'll take a close look at Joe Cullen. I think I got a couple of guests, especially here in Jacksonville. Y'all know who they are. We're trying to work it out now. I actually called them while they were doing their own show, and I went live. So we're going to try to work it out to see if we can get my Sports Den crew to come on here and talk some ball with us. I know I can do it. We just got to make sure that we can do it at the right time, because everybody has so much stuff going on. But look forward to that too. You guys keep taking care of each other, man, and we'll see you in another episode of Locked On Jaguars.